Like steady along.
Oh, no.
Like we suffer small because
We're not going to suffer small. Actually, it is now to do post-game analysis. Post-game analysis. Okuley is here. We're all at the airport.
you're facing the wrong side of the line.
No, no,
So
no.
face this way.
No,
This
it will
way.
come.
Okay.
Because I see this way, that'll be why. It's disappointing for everyone at the airport, getting ready to go back to Ghana. But actually, how disappointing was it to sit up there and witness the Black Stars crumble once again?
It was. You cannot put it into words. To think that we had played ourselves into a position of relative comfort with our destiny in our own hands, where any good result could have taken us out, and to have bottled it under that circumstance. That first half performance was some of the most shocking football I've seen in my entire life from the Black Stars play. I mean, that would be as low as perhaps seeing the defeat to Rwanda or more recently to Comoros. It was shocking. And to think that this is perhaps one of the most gifted group of Black Stars players we have had in almost a decade. I mean, and you could tell when the coach had to make changes, you could tell the difference in quality or the array of options that we had to fall onto. It makes it even more disappointing because this was a chance to make a really good record of progressing to the round of 16 on 3 occasions out of the 4 times that we've been at the World Cup. And to think that it wasn't even a case of the players getting emotional or they buckling under pressure or any of the things that people had sort of anticipated was going to happen, all of the talk about revenge. But it was just a case of we're simply not good enough. That's what I find unacceptable about all of this, because give your best and let your best not be enough. But don't let anyone fault the efforts that you put in, the shifts that you put in. And out there yesterday, I didn't get the impression that we gave our all.
He didn't get the impression that he gave our all. I'll come back to the point where you spoke about the quality of the team, because you had mentioned it before that we've got this crop of players, the most gifted we've had in a long while. And for them to crumble this way against Uruguay, when everyone thought Uruguay was going to be the whipping boys in this group, it never happened. Okuley, I was sitting next to you, and I took a look at your facial expression, and I could tell this man was dying.
Mufta, you are trying to force a laughter out of me. You know, I don't know how to put things together. In fact, this is my second experience watching the Black Stars live and then going down at the time.
Live at a tournament, isn't
At the
it?
tournament, yes. Going down at the time they are needed most. I was in Cameroon, Garoua to be specific, when they played against Comoros, and it was a bizarre experience. So I was thinking that a draw or a win against Uruguay at the World Cup could have been a result that this crop of players, this team, could handle. But unfortunately, we couldn't. And you know one funny thing? I think this is the second time we are playing against Uruguay at the World Cup. And both occasions we've gotten a penalty, and both occasions we've missed it. And not just a penalty, it was a crucial penalty which had the potential of changing the fortunes of the Black Stars at the tournament. So that one alone, I don't know. It's something. It's something. And
Just swallow those words. Just swallow those words.
and Muftau, it's very terrible, because if you look at the future of this particular team, one of the youngest team in the tournament, and they are playing so well. I was expecting them to put up a very good performance, a very resilient performance, so at least to say that, okay, we were not able to beat Uruguay, but we fought. But the point is, we were abysmal on the day.
Quite abysmal. So actually, you spoke about the quality. So what did we not get right in terms? Because if you have quality like you have spoken about, what did we not get right, and how do we rebuild from here?
I think the most damning thing in all of this was the fact that we had a coach who could not set up this team to play beyond his own insecurities. He could not coach beyond his insecurities. And I think one thing that stuck out like a sore thumb for me was Thomas Partey's comments to us in that press conference. And you were there 2 days ago, where he said he does only as much as the coach asked him to do. But he knows he's capable of doing more. When a player says that, it suggests that he's aware the coach does not have a full appreciation of his skill sets and within which tactical context he can thrive.
Yeah.
And so he deploys him to get the barest minimum out of him, which for me is criminal at this level. And I was alarmed listening to Thomas Partey talk about that, even though he sought to extricate himself from that situation. And I understood him. He knows that he's capable of playing much more, but I don't think even that explanation would excuse Partey himself, because I've kept saying that Partey is capable of playing much more than he's done, given more to the team than he's done over the course of the 3 games and for a long time. But I think our problems run deeper than him. What business did we have sitting that deep against Uruguay in the opening exchanges of the game? This, as far as I'm concerned, is perhaps the worst Uruguay team I've seen in more than a decade.
Yeah.
I mean, they do not have...
The Oscar Tabarez teams were incredible.
Much stronger. You had strong personalities, excellent individual quality, built or that had formed the foundation of a solid unit with an excellent manager behind them. This is still a team that's going through transition, that still is relying on a spent, washed-up Luis Suarez. And the fact that in the opening 2 games that they played, I mean, against, was it Portugal? They had 10 attempts, only 1 on target. Against Uruguay, they didn't have any effort on targets. They didn't get a goal in the opening 2 games that they played, did not dominate any of those 2 games. So where from the fixation we're trying to contain them and sit deep and defend? I mean, you do that against teams who you know have got the quality to dominate games and can pick you apart with some crisp passing or some brilliant movements. That is not the Uruguay team. So it was weird seeing the Black Stars set up in that manner and defend as if we're playing peak Germany or peak Brazil or peak Spain or any of the teams who have dominated the World Cup or international football in recent memory. So for me, at the end of the day, yes, there are some players who could have done better. Yes, could Baba Rahman have done better? Should he have started? No. But who makes the calls? It's the coach. Who decides how the team sets up? It's the coach. Who decides who plays where? It's the coach. And at the end of the day, I think we've paid dearly for handing the keys to a very brilliant squad to a coach who's now learning to cut his teeth. And here's the thing. You can't even blame Otuado, because what does he have to fall on? What experience does he have? I mean, coaches are able to make strong calls based on their knowledge, their experiences, which over the years form the basis of their belief and how they set up their teams, how they coach, the values that underpin the way they go about their job. Otuado is still learning on the job. He's still trying to figure out who he is, even as a coach.
In fact, he's actually not a man who is interested in results, because his duty is to build players and transition them to the senior team.
Exactly. So when you hand over the reins of a national team to a figure like that, and this isn't personal. This isn't. I like Otuado as a person. I think he's a strong personality, communicates very well. He's not the most personable guy you come across, but you can see right through him because he's an honest person. And if he's not feeling it, he will let you know. And I like people like that. Unfortunately, coaching the national team goes beyond likable personality. At the base of it has to be someone who can coach first, before you bring in all of the other values and all of the other stuff that you look out for. And for me, I think we've missed out on 6 months, because at the end of the day, I feel whatever gains we've made since he took charge are gains we could have made with a more experienced hand in charge, and probably on a larger scale.
How do we rebuild from here? I'll come back to that question because you didn't answer it. But now let me get the thoughts of Okuley. Okuley, 3 tournaments, 2019 round of 16, 2021 AFCON group stage, 2022 FIFA World Cup group stage. What must change?
This is a very big question, and I think we have to do a lot. Fortunately for us, we have a very young team. And so I was going to talk about going to the basics, the foundation. But going to the basics and foundation requires a lot of time, resources, and energy. But the immediate term, I think we have a very young team with huge potential. And so I am expecting that the managers of the national team should appoint a competent coach, competent in caps.
Is that Chris Hughton?
You see, I wouldn't want to mention him. But I'm expecting the managers to appoint a competent coach. And you know, getting a competent coach is not easy to come by. Very, very expensive. So if you want to compete out there with the big guys, then we should be ready to sacrifice and then pay more for quality coaches. Coaches who will be able to transform players, coaches who will be able to read the best of players that we have and then capitalize on their strength to the benefit of the national team. Next year, fortunately for us, we are not playing in the AFCON. We only have the qualifiers to play. We are not playing at AFCON. So I think we should be able to use the 12 months or next year to at least put the team together, build a very solid team. And there is one thing I also want us to do away with. The political selection must be reduced. Because if you look at
when you say political selection, what do you mean?
I mean the influence. People without say at the technical department of the national team will have say in the players to be selected for assignment and then tournament.
Do you think that is something that actually exists?
Oh, it exists. we see you can read if you get a team lineup or a 23 or 26 man squad, you can pinpoint an unseen hand pushing certain players or influencing certain colours. Yes, it is something that you.
But this thing, if you do not have any evidence to it, why would you say it? Because it's just a perception you are carrying. Actually,
great. It's a perception. The first game against, let's limit the argument to this World Cup. The first game we played against Portugal, we saw the lineup, we saw the performance. The second game against South Korea, we saw the lineup, we saw the performance. So what changed in the third game? What changed? And even the changes that were done didn't inure to our benefit. These are some of the things that you don't need a soothsayer to tell you. So if you want the best for the national team, there are best players around. Why do you think that Jeffrey Schlupp was dropped? Is it on performance?
Has Jeffrey Schlupp ever put up any better performance in the national team?
Yes.
When was that?
Even on certain matches, I don't remember offhand, but even during his average performances, you can see him playing better than some of the players. I don't want to single out players for it to look like I am giving the players out for them to be bashed or for them to be ridiculed. No, but the point is, we want the best for the national team. You and I, we are going back home. I'm not sure
in fact, my gig with FIFA has come to an end.
I'm not sure you've accomplished what you wanted to do at the World Cup. Assuming the country had qualified. I remember when Ghana was about playing in the final round, the FA president told you in specifically that if should Ghana qualify, won't it benefit you?
It has benefited me.
It has benefited me. So we all want the national team to progress, to do well. So we travel, we meet, we network, and then it enhances our career. You understand? So whenever we are saying this player, we think this player is better than this player, at least they should also consider our opinions.
Thank you. Atsu, let me just wrap up with you. And I'm wrapping up with a question I asked him before we touch on how we rebuild from here. 2019 AFCON, round of 16. 2021 AFCON, group stage. 2022 FIFA World Cup, group stage. Atsu, what must change when it comes to this national team?
I think this team has shown that with the right mix, we can be very competitive. And under the right tactical context, they can be very competitive. And that's why, for me, I think it's important that we prioritize finding an experienced coach, a strong personality who can deal with all of the issues that we know we have got. All of the issues the last three Black Stars coaches have failed to address. One of them being the team's inability to get goals while staying compact and putting in a strong balanced performance. Because
Get goals and also
and
not concede goals.
so that's what I meant by balance. Because in this tournament, we scored 5 goals in 2 games, but we've also conceded a ton of goals, and the manner of those goals have raised serious concerns about not just our centre-back partnership, but the defence itself. And that's something that you will need an experienced coach to fix, because unlike club football, international football does not afford you a lot of time on the training session, training ground to work through drills and all of that. So someone who's clear in his mind what he wants to do, ideas that have been time proven to be quality enough to come in, take this job, and then deal with it. The other issues about moving the team on from the old legs who are not able to give as much value, however well-intentioned they are.
Old legs
like Andre Ayew. I don't expect Andre to be at the next World Cup, which means, and that's 4 years away.
What about the next AFCON?
But so in between, we've got 2 AFCONs to prepare for. What we've seen at this tournament, do you take the odd goal that he gives you and just walks about for 90 minutes? Or you change the dynamics, you throw in someone much younger who significantly affects the balance of the team in terms of solidity behind and creativity that when the team has got the ball and the quality of the chances that they even create. Because one of the mistakes we made was not preparing for life after Samoa Jan, which is why this team is still not having a consistent goal scorer. Now we've had to rely on midfielders to do that, which is not a bad thing. But in losing Jan's goals, we've lost about a third of the goal contributions that we had. So if you lose Andre without a replacement for him, you are looking at losing 2 of the biggest contributors in the last 8 years without having a succession plan for them, which is criminal. So whether we like it or not, Andre is on his last legs. The performances we've seen in the last 2 years have simply not been good enough, and they've just been getting worse by the months, by the years. You have to look at that situation. You have to look at that and find a coach who can address these issues, and more importantly, find a way of quickly going through the transition. Because as the World Cup has shown us, international football, or football in general, does not have time to wait. I mean, what we call transition is a myth. It's just what we use to console ourselves, just to give ourselves time. But while you are going through your transition, other teams won't wait for you. They are building their teams. They are
getting better.
Yeah. So for me, that's what it comes down to. That quickly figure out what to do next. There is Chris Hughton. He's the one who's put himself in the frame now. Unless there is a better alternative somewhere there, if there's someone else who's interested, let's consider them. If there's someone else who we can convince who's better than Chris Hughton to come in and take the job, or perhaps is as good as Chris Hughton, not necessarily better, but will do the job and significantly less cost to the state. Why not? But it's important that we don't repeat the mistake that we've made with Otuado. Just helped someone build a CV for 6 months, and then he says he's off to his family. I mean, it's the freaking apex coaching job of the country, not some national service for.
My family and I see ourselves and our life in Germany. Those were the thoughts of Atsu Tamakloe and Michael Okuley after Ghana's exit from the FIFA World Cup. And then Atsu Tamakloe summed it up so well. Right behind me is Saudi Arabia, who are also just hacking out of the World Cup. They were knocked out despite a very good start when they beat Argentina coming from behind. But this was a conversation about Ghana. And they say we have to move on. Thank you very much, gentlemen, and thank you for always following.